I'm Tonya Khoury, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report. It's entitled VAT Envy and Cyril's Trump Card. Every single politician took credit for the VAT reversal this week. And I must admit, I called it wrong when I said that on the 1st of May, VAT will go up seamlessly. I'm Tonya Khoury. Come along with me and we can scratch the surface of the week in media that you missed while you were Eastering. I was in the middle of a meeting and my mom's message pinged on an internal news group. For those who don't know, my mom watches the news, so you don't have to. These are her exact words. Why is Zille taking all the credit for VAT? Who the hell does she think she is? That's funny. There are no DA supporters in my house. I can tell you that for nothing. She's right. She's right, my goose. Who is Zille eintlik? But it got better as the GNU dropped one media bomb after another about the DA's behaviour during the budget talks. Apparently, according to Zille, the man I voted for and now the head of SCOPA, the DA were pretty insistent that they would vote for the new fiscal budget, they would agree with it, but only if a certain port was privatised and if the land reform criteria was scrapped.
We can't make South Africans wait longer for land justice because someone knows the VAT issue will be emotional and they use it. We can't break up Transnet so that a political party can have its own in a province that it runs. We cannot break up the passenger rail agency so that a political party can have its own. Those were the points of extortion.
This was still when the VAT proposal was sitting at 2%. Sneaky, huh? Know your DA, good people. Mom and I had a robust discussion and we both agreed that the DA should take a fat hike. If they were removed from the equation, we might actually have a working government because 20% of the country will have to be putting their votes with someone other than the ANC. Hopefully, and I assume this, that the voters won't vote for Zuma the Puma. VAT envy, a deadly sin. It was around this time that Cyril, the sneaky squirrel, pulled a fast one on Trump. I did not see that coming. We all gawked as Zelensky, the Timu president without a suit, turned up at the Union buildings, dressed in brown. Maybe he thought he needed the colour to colour coordinate his crappy situation. Anyway, my jaw gaped as I watched Ronald Lamola and Cupcake escort a surprisingly short Presidentski up the red carpet. Red. The colour of the blood that runs under our feet of the elite as they trample the dead. The meeting was cut short by a ferocious attack on Ukraine by Russia. Within minutes of Presidentski's departure, Matamela told us that there is room for peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, and that he would be on a call to trumpet stat.
President Trump and I also agreed to meet soon to address the various other matters regarding our relations between South Africa and the United States. We both spoke about the need to foster good relations between our two countries.
My country. We certainly punch above our weight, don't we? As much as I loathe the man, you have to admit, Ramaphosa is smart, man. I've got to give him that. Even Trump didn't see that one coming. Now the tangerine is going to be forced to deal with us amicably to keep Putin on side. This after Putin signed a deal back in Iran in any US conflict against Iran. That is checkmate. That is checkmate, Chanav. And then for a little salt and wound rubbing, Cupcake also appointed Tsibisi Jonas as the US envoy. Now, Jonas is a man beyond rebuke. He's the guy who turned down the Gupta's $600 million in cash. And, in a bad lethal weapon Afrikaans accent, he's blick.
Okay. So, okay. The guy goes, but, you're blick.
In my last report, I spoke about Tete and the immediate need to open the sex offenders register. Today, it pains me to tell you that there is no movement on the Tete case. In fact, there's less than zero movement. South African victims were blue-ticked by the president and then ghosted. Another 12-year-old was raped in her so-called place of safety, and then another march is being planned to highlight the plight of our children. There is some mumbling about Omatoso being returned for a retrial, but that will disappear by next week, and will let another 8-year struggle dissipate into nothing. Instead, we watch Floyd Shivambu attend Easter with Shepherd Bushiri. That's how much we don't care about our raped and trafficked girls and embezzled cash. We ask those same devils to pray for us. And then there was good old racism. While we were reeling from the Amerikaners, we saw Julius march to Oranje. Well, he didn't march at all, okay? He sent a proxy, okay? And he didn't really march in Oranje because black people aren't allowed in Oranje. So he marched near Oranje. What a joke. And then the MK party marched to what is apparently an Afrikaner-only settlement in Pretoria named Stilfontein. It made little news and obviously had zero impact. And it's, a bit like both parties. Hot air, no balloon. There was so much news. The weather still has it in for us as winter enters and snow falls in Lesotho. It's even below 25 here in Setswana. I know, it's raining cats and dogs and the stray. Load shedding is back again. And speaking of back, Zuma has been told for the 11th time that he will have to face Downer in court. Will you get the message? Baba, get the message, come on. Inflation fell and Tembisa Hospital burnt down twice. The second time, it was noted that the records room was burnt to a cinder. Obviously, the first attempt had some kinks in the plans. In season 482 of the Senzo Mayiwe trial, as the fatigue sets in on the nation and we forgo justice for Senzo, gross, eh? The Jocelyn Smith trial awaits closing arguments next week after we learned that Kelly refused to take the stand. I'm not surprised. She did break down this week, finally. She remembered that her child is missing and that this is not the Kelly Smith show. One of the biggest stories this week, and I'm sorry I haven't covered it in great detail, is that there was an assassination attempt on our deputy president. Paul Mashatile's car was targeted and the bullets ricocheted off the reinforced glass. At first, Paul didn't make any fuss about it, and then came the slow realization that there was actually an attempt on his life. Do you buy it? I don't think you have a choice, because if it looks like a duck and swims like a chicken. The biggest story in the world is the death of the Pope. He passed on Easter Monday after his final service to the world, but not before he made a public call to a Catholic church in Gaza. Yes, there are Christians there, don't be ignorant. We learned how the people of Gaza every day had been called by the Pope and how he called the war cruel and unnecessary. I come from a Catholic upbringing and my ma is Catholic. Yes, Muslims and Catholics do coexist. Don't be ignorant. J.D. Vance met with the Pope moments before he passed. And social media was quick off the mark to draw unrealistic but funny conclusions about the impact of meeting Vance. Imagine Vance being the last person you meet before you die. Gross. And then, as if by stark contrast, Trump held an Easter wave parade on his balcony. He was accompanied by none other than the Easter Bunny. And this was while he told us that Christian values are coming back to America and that he'd established an anti-Christian task force. Can you even use those words in a sentence? Well, it's Trump. What do you expect? He had a busy week, though. Apart from telling Putin to stop bombing Ukraine in a post on his social network Truth, it literally read, "Vlad, stop." Readers and followers would have expected at the next McDonald's, but that's not what happened at all. This does trump his Easter message that was, quite honestly, just hate mail. I quote, "Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers back into our country." and to all the people who cheated in the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive moron back. I wish you, with great love, a happy Easter. That was funny. The Tango Man has been backed into a corner in his trade war with China on tariffs, and now as the numbers surged to an eye-watering 145%, even Thumper agreed that he himself has made it too high, and it may ultimately end up around the 10% mark.
145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high.
Perhaps this oak thinks he's an auctioneer at Sotheby's. Either that or he's haggling at Broomer Flea Market. I'm not sure. There's a lot of other news. China introduced 10G. Israel are offering Gazans a place to stay, a flight, and $5,000 to get out of Palestine and to revoke their nationality. I wonder where they're sending them to. Israel also admitted finally that the hostages are not their priority. There you go. The country is imploding as many are leaving. Settlers have taken to the streets to shout at their rotten king. Reservists dodge the draft, and others make themselves unavailable to the tyranny of crooked men. How on earth am I going to cheer you up? Well, there's Sweaty Feet Peter Hegseth, who added several family members and White House staff to another signal group about security. Again, Pete drinks absinthe, doesn't he? Tell me he does. I'm right, Anna. I'm right. I'm guessing, but I think I'm right. And then my favourite story of the week, the synchronised speaking twins from Australia.
And one guy, he was up there with our mum, and he went up there, and he was coming back down towards us, and he goes, "Run, he's got a gun." And
I thought it was a hoax until they were interviewed live on air, these twins, and my goodness, they speak exactly the same time, exactly the same words. It's extraordinary, it's funny, and it would be mildly irritating if you were married to one of them. I'm Tonya Khoury. Thank you for scratching the surface with me and Acumen Media.